Welcome to this free lecture. This lecture is taken from my ZBrush Full Anatomy and Character Creation course. Details of this course can be found now. If you like what I'm doing here, visit the page, check it out, see if you like it, and take the course. Okay guys, welcome back. Right, welcome to the sort of custom brush advanced section. Well, it's more advanced, it's still pretty easy. What we're going to be doing in this is creating some VDM brushes and vector displacement matte brushes, and I just want to show you the difference between what happens with normal ones and what happens with the vector displacement ones. So the first thing I'm going to do is just change my document size. So I'm going to set my size here just to make sure it's square really. So I'm going to set it to 1024, 1K, turn Pro off and set this to 1024. Let's just make sure our canvas is nice and square to hold our brushes when we do them. Okay, so let's hit resize, and I'm going to zoom out so you can see the square using this zoom here. This is not the same as zooming in on the canvas. This is actually to zoom the canvas out with whatever's in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a plain 3D and I'm going to drag it out and go into edit mode, and I'm going to make that polymesh 3D. Now what I need to do, because it's low resolution, obviously if I sculpt on this at this resolution, there's not enough to hold the geometry, as you can see. So I need to divide it up, but I don't want the corners curling. So I'm actually going to turn off smooth. If I don't, watch these corners when I click divide, they'll start to round. I don't want that, so I'm going to turn smooth off and I'm going to subdivide in here. I'm going to check the canvas until I've got a good, nice clean mesh. Let's take it up to about level 6. And with that, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a kind of belly button. So I'm going to go in here with the standard brush and I'm going to sort of do a bigger version of a belly button. So I'm going to press the Alt key and I'm going to kind of push in here like this, and then we're going to kind of pull it down a little bit here, just sort of square it. Now because we've got subdivision levels, so I can come down and I can obviously smooth it off a lot quicker. Actually I need to go back on myself because I needed to turn on symmetry. I want this to be right in the middle. You don't need to do this, but I just tend to always do it, except when I forget, like I just did. Okay, let's do this again. Let's put that in there. Let's take a little bit out and let's kind of do a rounded bit coming around here. Yeah, kind of that belly button type look. Now I'm going to lower this down and I'm going to use a smooth brush on it, which will smooth it out very quickly. And that's pretty good. Looks a bit like a belly button. More in there. Okay, while it's still on a low subdivision level, I'm going to bring the brush size down. I'm going to push in a little bit more there and bring it round. So there we go, got a belly button. Then I'll take it up to the highest subdivision level and I'll just go smooth it off. Alright, now of course if you want to, you could use move here and change the shape of it a little bit if you want to. So it's up to you. That's a belly button. Okay. So difference between this and a vector displacement is a vector displacement will actually allow you to do undercuts. So to prove this to you, I'm just going to undercut this model into here. So I'm actually pushing it back inside like that. So it's got an undercut. Okay. Okay, let's bring this down, just smooth it up a little bit in there. Come back and you've still got that undercut. So what's going to happen is we're actually going to create a brush from this. So I'm going to press F to frame this, and you'll notice it will frame in this square perfectly. So now to actually turn this into just a standard alpha, I can go to alpha and I can just click grab dock and you're going to see it appear in there. Now what this means is that if I just change this tool to something like a sphere, I make that a polymesh 3D and I press Ctrl D. Now because I've got that active in there, and I'll put it on drag dot, if I press the Alt key and I drag, it's going to pull it out. But if I just drag it out, you're going to get a belly button. Now the problem with this is that you will not get the undercut. It just goes straight in and it goes straight out. Can you see that? Let me just divide this again to make this a bit higher resolution. So if we want to create something that's got an undercut, we can use VDM brushes to do that. Okay. Now you also might have noticed on that sphere that we had here that we've actually got it pulling out, and that's because of the brush settings down in the actual alpha tab. Which we can change, and we'll change all that later, but that's not the point. The point is that it's undercutted. So to create a vector displacement brush where we're going to get a similar effect to this, we need to go in and use one of the special vector displacement tools that are actually in here. If I can find it, might be in miscellaneous. No, check tools. I've just realised in ZBrush 2020 you've no longer got to use the grid. So we can go ahead and we can do this on a plane. This is brilliant news because we used to actually have to use a grid to create the VDM brushes, but now we don't have to. So this is very cool. So I'm going to go into brush down here and I'm going to just hit the from mesh. Now what it's going to do is it's going to create a vector displacement brush with an alpha, and it's going to come up here. Notice all the alphas have got nothing by them. It's going to come up here with 3D. So I'm going to click from mesh, and this is what we've got. So it's created this. Now this, if I go in back to our sphere, this little brush we can drag out. Oh, let's do drag. Hold on a sec, that's not right. Let's go to standard brush. Okay, yeah, so we got the 3D come up now, drag rectangle. It's okay guys, I'm going to be doing this again in a second, but watch what happens now when I drag this. We now have our belly button, but notice we have an undercut because it's a VDM brush. Okay, and it's exactly the same as this. So we could have variations of this brush. We could go in and do a move on this, give it a bit more of a flow across, smooth it off a bit. Here, press F on the keyboard. Make sure you're on that standard brush. We can click from mesh, and we're going to get a new version. And you can see it's been appended in here. So we now have this new version, and we have these versions as well. So very cool. So let me start afresh so you guys know. So you've just done your belly button there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this out. So I'm going to save it, and this will be available for you guys to download. And let's stop. I'm just going to exit ZBrush so I can restart it back up so I can show you from scratch. Okay guys, let's load in the plane that we've got, the belly button plane. Let's drag that in. I'm going to try something. I'm going to try not resizing the canvas. I'm also going to leave it in the Magcat wax. You don't have to put it into, going to edit, you don't have to put it into basic material. So I'm going to take that mesh which is in there, belly button. I'm going to make sure I've got the standard brush selected, and I'm going to go to brush from mesh, and there we go, we've got it. So now if I draw on this with the drag rectangle, I'm going to get the same thing happen here. Now obviously need to turn this up, and there you go, identical. Now of course this brush can be used, you could do more copies of this. So if I had it like this, so we don't have to resize the canvas, so scrap that idea. Obviously they've made some modifications in 2020, makes it easier. So if I want to append a new one, so I've got 3 belly buttons, it's like an alien, I come down here and go from mesh, and what I'm going to get then is a 3 button version. Well, at least I thought I was up there. Okay, so you can keep adding to a brush set. Now remember also, if you want to get rid of any of these out of here, all you need to do is select this, and then you need to go and delete it out. There, delete mesh, and it will delete that one out. Okay, so if you want to delete one out, you can click on the brush, go down to here, go down to create, delete mesh. So now we've got a belly button brush that we can use in other projects. Oops, what's going on? I don't know what's happened here. Go back to that. From mesh. Okay, that's in there. Good, let's just delete that one out. Okay, there we go. So we have a brush we created there. We could of course append more of these in, but to save this brush out, we can go to save as, and then we can save this out as belly button brush and VDM. Save that on my desktop, and there we have a brush. So I want to do more of these brushes. We're going to play around with different things, and we're going to create more of these brushes. The next brush I want to create is for the front of the abdomen area, where it's actually a cut-in, which will be very cool, which is just going to be a normal brush that we can modify, pretty much similar to the sloping brush that we created in the other custom brush section earlier in the course.